Hi there, welcome to this 30-minute stretch and mobility class. I'm Bianca and I'm going to be your instructor today. So a few things that you might want to have on hand, and don't worry if you do not have these items. One is a yoga mat or a Pilates mat or just a soft surface on the floor, because we will be doing some stretching on the floor as well as standing. Some blocks or even pillows. So don't worry if you don't have yoga blocks, a regular pillow will do. And then either a yoga strap, or you can use a belt or a towel instead. So we're gonna start off seated on the ground. Nice, easy cross-legged pose. Now, I know for some of you, this might not be the most comfortable position, so I have a couple of suggestions. One is, if you're feeling really tight in the hips and back, and that you can't maintain a tall spine where you're sitting cross-legged, I'm gonna invite you to place that block or pillow underneath your hips. And what you'll find is that allows the hips to relax and the knees to go towards the floor while maintaining a tall spine. The other thing that may be uncomfortable for you when you're in this position is your knees. In that case, feel free to take those feet in front of you in a diamond shape. Make this comfortable for yourself. We never want to force a pose when we're stretching. We want to take it to a place where we feel the stretch, but we're also able to breathe and be comfortable. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to take this block out. You can keep it in if you need to. We are going to begin by connecting some movement to our breath. And the reason we do this is very important. Often when we stretch, we tend to hold our breath. We tend to resist against the stretch. We really want to get familiar with breathing nice and deeply. And the other reason we want to do our breathing is just to bring us into this present moment, to try and release any thoughts for the rest of the day, any sort of things that are on our mind already. So let's go ahead and close the eyes if you're comfortable doing so. And I'm going to get you to just take a few circles with those shoulders. You're taking the shoulders up, back, and down, like you're placing those shoulder blades on your back. And the breathing here, if you are comfortable doing so, you'll inhale as you lift the shoulders, and then exhale as you feel those shoulders soften away from the ears. Let's do a couple more. Inhale deeply. Exhale, relaxing the shoulders down the back. And one more time. Awesome. Okay, open your eyes. And now the breath is going to move with the arms. As you reach the arms up, take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just bring those fingertips back down to the mat. Again, feeling the shoulders release down and away from the ears. Let's do it again. Inhale. You want to feel some length here through the spine, like you could touch the ceiling with your fingertips. And then exhale, relax those arms by your side. Beautiful. Let's do it one more time. Deep breath in. And exhale, bring it down. Okay. So from here, we're going to actually take those feet into that diamond position that I was talking about before. So you can keep the hips up on the block or the pillow if you're sitting on it, or release that block or pillow, whatever works for you. The feet can be further away from you if you're a little less flexible, or bring them in closer if you have a little bit more flexibility. So from here, grabbing onto those feet and again, just lifting up tall through the spine. This might be enough of a stretch for you. You should feel it in those inner thighs and hips. And if you want a little more, you're just going to start to gently pull your chest towards your feet. But what you don't want is to be pulling so hard that your back starts to round. We want to keep that nice long spine and just feel the stretch in the inner thighs. Let's take another deep breath here. Inhaling and exhaling, softening a little more into the stretch. Awesome. One more time like that. Inhale deeply. And exhale, pulling gently forward. Beautiful. Let's release that one and take those legs straight out in front of you. So from here, we're going to add a little bit of a twist, and there's a couple of options. You can still be seated on the block or remove that block. The right leg is going to come in close to your body, just as close as you can while still maintaining that straight spine. We're going to do a little twist. So we'll be taking that left hand onto the right leg and the right hand behind us. Now, if you are a little more flexible and more familiar with this pose, you can cross your right leg over, and that's going to increase the stretch in the outer hip and that IT band on the side of the leg. Okay, so whichever pose you're in, take your left arm across and then reach your right arm behind you. From here, take a deep breath and feel that spine growing taller as you hug your knee towards your chest. On your exhale, start to twist and look over your right shoulder. Again, being very mindful that you're not forcing the stretch. We want to feel that nice, gentle release on the exhalation. One more deep breath in, and one more deep breath out. And release. Let's take it to the other side. So option one is bringing that foot in, keeping it parallel to your extended right leg, or crossing it over the leg. Let's hug your left knee now. Reach that left arm back behind you. And again, deep breath in to sit up tall. And exhale, twist. One more time. Really nice. Okay, let it go. And final stretch here in this position is just a nice forward fold. Now, this is where, if you want to, you can grab your strap or belt or towel and take it around those feet in front of you. So always starting with that tall spine and a deep breath in, pulling your toes nice and straight towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, hinging forward from the hips. The option here without the strap is, of course, just to reach forward with those fingertips. Wherever your hands lie is okay. I'm going to turn to the side just to show you here that what's most important is to keep the legs and the spine straight. So if you're needing to bend your knees and round your back just so that you can touch your toes, you're not going to get as much benefit from this pose as if you start to lengthen the spine and lengthen the legs, even if you're just here, okay? Let's take one more deep breath. Exhaling, softening just a little more into that stretch. And then release. Beautiful job. Okay, if that pillow or block is still under your hips, go ahead and remove it. Bend the knees so that the feet are flat on the mat. And from here, we're going to roll ourselves down to the mat, nice and slow. As you do this, I want you to think of controlling your core muscles so that you can go down as slow as possible. And you might want to hang on to the backs of the legs, or you might want to challenge yourself by reaching those fingertips forward as we lay the spine down one vertebra at a time. Really good. From here, let's take those arms up overhead and extend the legs out. So this I like to call the morning stretch. You may have heard it called that before. It's like when you first wake up in the morning and you're just stretching all the way from your fingertips to your toes. Now let's take both knees in towards the chest and give them a little squeeze. This is a great stretch for the low back. If it feels good, you can rock side to side just a little bit. Good. From here, we're going to go into figure four. So place both feet on the mat. The knees are about hip distance apart. And then take your right foot on top of your left knee. Now, there's a couple of things you want to be aware of here. Keep your right foot flexed, and that's going to protect that right knee joint. Now, you can stay here just pushing that right knee away from you, and that might be a good stretch. If you want to deepen it, you're going to reach through that window between your legs, grabbing onto the back of your left thigh or your left shin. Again, it's not about how far you can grab. It's about doing the stretch the right way. So often I'll see people grab onto their shin, but they need to round the back and lift the head. That puts a lot of pressure on the neck, and it also eliminates how much stretch you're going to feel in that hip and glute. So being mindful of where you're placing your hands and that you're really getting that best stretch for you. Take a couple of deep breaths. And let's release it and switch sides. Starting again with the flexed left foot, pushing that left knee away, and just noticing one side might be tighter than the other. So do what works on each side. If you want to intensify, grab onto your right leg. And let's let that one go. From here, take your arms out with the palms up and just windshield wiper those knees a little bit side to side. So this is a great one to open up into those hips and really start to loosen up the hip joints as well as the muscles. When you think about mobility, mobility is more about your joints and the ability to move that joint in a safe range of motion. And flexibility is about the muscles and how much your muscles are lengthened and your ability to stretch. So both are very important. Okay, we're going to add on to this, doing a little bit more mobility through the hip. This is a stretch that I've done in the TPI training, which is the Titleist Performance Institute. Some of you may have done it, and it's called the Starfish. So extend your right leg out and keep your right toes pointing to the ceiling. If it's comfortable for your shoulders, you're going to take your arms straight up overhead, but trying to maintain a neutral spine. That means that you're not excessively arching up through that low back here, and you're not puffing out your chest. You're trying to keep your back nice and neutral. Lift your left knee over your hip and take your left knee out to the side. So you're opening that left hip to the side and keeping your right knee out to the side, keeping your left toes pointing towards the ceiling. Your left leg is straight on the mat. Right knee is open. Now take that right leg across the body and start to stretch that leg away from you. Now, the tendency will be for these left toes to start to move with it. You actually want to keep those left toes pointing towards the ceiling. So just move that stretch as far as you can without your left leg moving. Now bend that left knee or right knee. I am really getting my left and right mixed up. Open that right knee to the side and then take it across again. So this is what's called a dynamic stretch, where we're moving through the pose. Bend and open. And we're really working through the mobility in that right hip joint and move it across the left leg. Awesome. Let's do it all on the other side. Extending that right leg down. Again, try and keep your arms overhead. If you can't, bring them to your sides. That's totally fine. Bend your left knee. Keep the right toes pointing towards the ceiling. Open up that left hip. And then bring it across the right leg and straighten it out. Yes, let's do that a few more times. Opening, always breathing through the movement. Across and straighten. Are those right toes still pointing towards the ceiling? That right straight leg on the mat should not be moving as the left leg moves. Good job. And bring it all back in. Okay, from here, we're going to come up to a seated position again. So you can either rock yourself up or roll over to one side to come up. Very nice. And then we're going to swing those legs around, coming onto all fours. So a great stretch for the spine, but also getting some core work here is the cat-cow. As you drop your belly and open your chest, you're going to breathe in. As you round your back and tuck your tail, tucking your chin, you're going to exhale, breathing out. And here, think of not just stretching through the back, but also drawing that belly button to your spine. Again, inhaling to open, expand through the chest, dropping the belly, and exhale, rounding the back, tucking the chin, tucking the tailbone. Let's do that one more time. Fantastic. Okay, nice straight spine now. So think of a flat back and a tight core. Take your right leg back behind you for a little bit of balance. Bird dog is the name of the pose. Now this might feel challenging enough. If you want to add on, reach those left fingertips forward. And now I want you to imagine that I'm pulling your right leg back and lifting it up a little higher. And then I'm also pulling your left fingertips forward and lifting that left arm a little higher. Hold for one more breath. And on the exhale, release. Great work. Let's take it to the other side. Left leg comes back. You can stay here or extend the right arm. So this pose not only gives us great core stability and balance, it also makes that spine longer by feeling that traction in the spine, like you're pulling in two directions. Let's try again to lengthen the fingertips and toes away from each other and lift just an inch higher. Deep breath in, exhale, bring it down. Really nice. Take your toes together and your knees wide and sit back into a child's pose. We're going to sink that chest down towards the mat, reaching the fingertips forward, and just breathe here. 3 full breaths. Fantastic. Slowly come up. Take your hands a little bit more in front of you and tuck your toes under, coming into a downward facing dog. Now this pose, as you can see by my body, is like an inverted V. You want those hands spread nice and wide. Don't worry if your heels are not touching the mat. Just imagine that those heels are moving towards the mat. Feel the stretch in your hamstrings and your calves. And now bring awareness to your shoulders and notice if they're lifting up around the ears. Try and bring your shoulder blades down the back, just like we did at the beginning, and feel your neck grow longer. Bending your right knee, push the left heel a little more to the mat. Hold for a breath. And then bending your left knee, push the right heel. Let's do that one more time. And switch. Good. Walk your feet and hands together. Bending your knees as much as you need to. Let your head hang. And from here, grab onto your opposite elbows. So in this pose, what you want is to feel, again, that you're making space in between the vertebrae and the back. Shake out your neck, shake out your head, and really let yourself just hang down here. We're going to slowly roll up, soften the knees, release the arms, and start to stack the spine, one vertebrae at a time, all the way up to standing, rolling your shoulders back. Okay, from here, grab onto that strap or belt or towel. You want it to be long enough so that your hands can be a little wider than shoulder distance apart. Those feet are just going to be firmly planted under your hips, and you're going to reach those arms up overhead. Let's take a deep breath in and just come over to one side. We're now making space as we hinge towards the right. We're making space in the left rib cage. So now I'm mirroring you guys. So I'm moving to my left, your right. And then come on back to center, and let's take it to the other side. Remembering to breathe and take it just to your edge. And come on back through. Now take those hands a little wider. Breathing in and opening the chest. See if you can start to take the arms back behind you a little bit. This is a great opener for the front of the shoulders and the chest. Maybe the hands come all the way down behind you. Depends how long your strap or your belt is. Come up on the inhale, and then bring those arms forward again. So again, now getting mobility in the shoulder joints. Inhale up, exhale back. A nice dynamic stretch, moving the joints through that range of motion. Let's do one more. Inhale up. Exhale back. And take it to the front. Inhale up. Exhale down. Really good. Okay. You're going to grab onto one or two blocks or pillows and place them in between your feet. So coming into quite a wide-legged stance here. If you were to take your arms out, your feet are going to be about as wide as your hands, okay? It's a good judge. The blocks or pillows are in between you. One is totally fine. Sometimes people prefer two because it's more stable, but one is fine, or anything that brings the ground closer to you. It could be a little step stool or a pillow. Now, if you're flexible, you don't need anything at all. So I'm just going to show you the option with the blocks, okay? Take your hands to your hips. Your toes are actually going to turn slightly inwards, and this allows our hips to kind of move back a little more. So with those hands on the hips, imagine you're pushing your hip bones. Start pushing those hip bones back behind you. At the same time, bring your weight more into the balls of your feet. Yeah, feel that stretch in the hamstrings? So we have a long spine here, and then we're going to release our hands either to the blocks or to the mat, and let your head hang. Nice deep forward fold. Opens up that low back and backs of the legs. And then again, coming up the same way you went down, placing one hand on each hip and slowly standing up with a straight spine. Really good. Okay, let's get into those hip flexors a little bit. So what you're going to do is start to turn your right toes towards the front of the mat. And that left foot is going to stay parallel to the back edge of the mat. What you might want to do is move the right foot forward a little bit so that you can bend the knee and have that knee right over your right ankle. So this is a pose that in yoga is called Warrior Two. The arms come out, okay? For today, we're just going to sink down and start to feel that opening again in the inner thigh, and maybe start to feel it a little bit in those hip flexors on the front of the body. Now, we're going to slowly start to lift that back heel and turn the hips towards the front edge of the mat. Okay. Now, you're going to take one of your blocks, if you need it, and place it next to the other foot. So it's like parallel to that front foot. You'll place the hand onto that block and start to feel that deep opening through the back hip flexor. If this is too much for you, drop that back knee. Your front hand will be on that knee that's bent. And from here, you'll start to do a little twist as you look towards that front knee. Let's hold this. Again, if you want more, lift that back knee up. And then we're slowly going to take that front foot forward and roll up. Really good, you guys. Let's do it all on the other side. So starting in that wide stance, you can set yourself up by bringing that block over there first. Turn those front toes to the front of the mat. Back foot is parallel. Bend deeply into the knee. The knee is over the ankle. Lift the chest and feel those hips open. Breathe into that. And then nice and easy, start to lift that back heel and turn your hips so that they're facing that front knee. slowly coming down, bringing your hand to the block or the mat. If you need to, dropping the back knee, and then front hand placed on the knee and slowly twist towards that leg. Option, keep that back knee lifted. And then start to come up. I know that stepping forward can be a challenge in itself, so just make your way to standing in whatever way works best for you. All right, everyone, that is it for today. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions at all, please email me at bgardner@fhgc.com or fitness@fhgc.com. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.